Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I wanted to bring a little bit of nostalgia for the end of the year. So for the 12 days of Christmas, here are 12 things that only old Eternal Return players will remember. Number 12, remove food. There has been plenty of removed food over the time of Eternal Return. Some of them have just name changed, and others were all removed together. Back in the day, we had a variety of curry foods. Curry buns, curry croquette, and tandoori chicken were all food options that built from curry powder. Number 11. The strongest and the weakest characters of all time. It's no secret that when a new Eternal Return character comes out, they're barely ever balanced. Upon Shiara's release, all hell rained loose down on the island. The character was pretty much able to do anybody regardless of matchup, and didn't need her ultimate to do so. On the contrary, Adriana was one of the weakest characters of all time, struggling to kill boars even with her full kit. Number 10. Old Hyperloop Locations. Before we had transfer consoles and androids, zones were pretty much a simpler version, which is having a vision console and sometimes a Hyperloop. Avenue, Factory, and Chapel all used to have Hyperloops in different locations than their current. Avenue was near the entrance to Research Center, Factory was near the entrance to Dock, and Chapel was closer to where the vision console currently is for Season 8. Number 9. Camera dodging. For whatever reason, camera health bars used to be the top layer of Lumia Island. And what I mean by that is that it was a viable strategy at one point when fighting an opponent to place a camera on top of yourself so that the opponent would click the camera instead of clicking on your character. This was before we got a target test subjects only button and created some infuriating moments. Number 8. Quantum Flux. I'm not entirely sure I'm getting the name right. At one point there was talks about putting a mechanic in the game under the same name. It was basically Flash from League of Legends, making it so you could dash a short distance upon pressing the button, but ultimately it was never implemented. We now have something similar in the form of a mythic item. Number 7. Eternal Return World Championships. We've had a lot of tournaments in Eternal Return, but one of the most prestigious tournaments we ever had was our first and only Worlds. While scuffed, it was one of the most hyped tournaments to watch. We had 2 North American teams representing our region as they took down the likes of Korea and Japan. This also gave us one of the most entertaining vlogging experiences of watching a Verse, Pie Master, and Iota, formerly known as Homecoming, dominating the KR ranked ladder. Number 6. Server removal. You might think that this one isn't that old. The talks of removing the South American server just happened last season, but did you know back in the early seasons of Eternal Return we had a server called Asia 2? Setting in Hong Kong, Australian players had a better option for a server than NA or KR, but the server closed on October 28th, 2021. Number 5. Night 1 RNG. Rare resources now come in at set times, and unless you're incredibly lucky, you're not getting a 4 score of blood until late game. But there was a time when rare resources spawned on Night 1 bears. Nothing like walking around day 2 and running into a Luke with MKB, or seeing someone who hadn't even finished their build yet have a mithril shield in Beach. I'm looking at you, Mbizroy, with your Night 1 frag Kathy. Number 4. Crafting symbols. We've all come to know the little yellow triangle that you need for an item in your build, and the green checkmark once you have obtained them. But there's some other symbols that are no longer around. For an item that can be crafted from items in your inventory, a wrench and hammer symbol would have appeared. Number 3. Old character kits. A few characters have undergone reworks in Eternal Return, and some have had some major changes to their kit. Fiora and Kathy are 2 characters that have undergone reworks, but do y'all remember old Shoichi and old Sisela? Shoichi actually used to have CC in his kit in the form of a root. When ulting, the middle zone before the 4 daggers spawn would root, making it much easier for him to get damage on all 4 daggers down. Sisela ultimate also used to be global across the whole island. This was incredibly annoying because back then, if you took damage, it interrupted your crafting. God forbid there was also more than one Sisela in your lobby too. It was like a siren going off telling all the Siselas to ult at the same time, and you could actually kill someone if they were under half health for whatever reason. Number 2. Dual swords as a hidden weapon. Dual swords was a hidden tech in the early seasons of Eternal Return. You couldn't select dual swords as a weapon at the start of game, and twin blades wasn't in the game yet. For Jackie and Yuki to get dual swords, you had to spawn in with their weapons and combine it with a kitchen knife or a rusty sword respectively. And finally, number 1. Broken Wick AI. Oh wait, she's still broken. Never mind. Number 1. The Holy Trinity of content creators. I had to give the number 1 spot to the content creators who paved the way for Eternal Return's start. Skaz, Tom Sorcerer, and iHeartPie were household names of the community. These 3 would cast early tournaments, create new player and returning player guides, and host in-houses for players to meet other members of the community. The amount of times I've heard older players say that they met their current friends through an iHeartPie custom game is wild. Without these 3, I'm sure the community wouldn't even be as close to how tight it is today. And I want to give an honorable mention and shout out to Aesop. He did a lot for the community as well. Let me know down in the comments who some of your favorite Eternal Return creators are. Thank you so much for watching if you made it to this point. I hope you had a nostalgia trip remembering some of the old parts of Eternal Return. If you want there to be a part 2 to this, let me know. There's definitely a few things I left out. If you're excited for Season 8, leave a like and subscribe for some pre-season content coming soon. And be sure to click the video in the end screen to see me play a randomized version of Eternal Return.